What's up guys, this is Dark Magician here and welcome to another KOF video. So guys, as you can see, the developers never cease to give us surprises, and the biggest surprise after the anniversary was the introduction of the new fighter or the new boss, which is Hotaru. And again, this was totally unexpected. I don't think anyone saw her coming that fast. But this kind of raises concern about the other fighters that they are skipping. Here, for example, I'm not sure if they're ever gonna put them again anymore, or they're just gonna give them maybe later on in other events for free. I don't know, 2 bosses in 1 month like they usually do. I don't know, so this raises concern, but I don't know, we can see how it goes, and I guess we can still adjust our teams depending on whatever order they bring into the game. So yeah, without further ado, today's character introduction will be for Hotaru. So as you can see, Hotaru is an API 15 gank, and the details or the feature says posture changing and counter attack. Now posture changing here because we're gonna see that she adopts 2 postures, okay? Depending on certain conditions, you can switch postures and gain effects accordingly. And counter attack because I'm pretty sure you've seen her in the Japanese, in the Chinese version, where whenever she gets hit with an ultimate, she can counter attack even in the opponent's turn. And this is actually something new. The first fighter that can ever do this type of that has this feature, which is pretty good. And of course, the major thing about her is that she has healing power. Of course, she is considered a healer along with all the other healers that you can see in the picture here. She can be a really good healer to the team as well. Now, starting with the fates first, we have Woman Punch. We need Hotaru, Vanessa, and Mian, increasing attack plus 25%. Of course, here it's kind of a bummer because they haven't even introduced Mian even in the Chinese version yet. So I don't know about the global, but I do hope that they end up releasing Mian sooner than the Chinese so that we can access this fate. The second fate, which is Cutie Girl, we need Hotaru, Momoko, and Ice Doll Kula, increasing attack plus 25%. And Family Path, we need Hotaru, Todo Kasumi, and Duolon, increasing HP plus 25%. 2 kind of hard fates, but pretty much if you're going for female team, I think you will be going for Ice Doll Kula and, well, probably Mian as well. So fates are not impossible to unlock after all. And well, the weapon is the exquisite Bonot, and she uses the beauty badge and the judo top. Now, going to her fight soul, it's called the Wise Serpent Soul. So it says gain 30 rage when attacking and gain extra rage when being attacked. So it's a snake soul and a tortoise soul in one. Now let's start with the passive first. Okay, so starting with the passive first. Increase on small skill damage and small skill resistance, increase on attack by 20%, damage and resistance by 35%, and enter the swallow defense stance. So as we've seen before, she can adopt 2 different postures. This swallow defense stance is the one that we can see here in the picture above. So what does it give her? Increase on block by 50% and anti-crit by 30%. So you can see it's a defensive stance here. And when Hotaru is attacked by the enemy's ultimate, she will release small skill to counter attack. That's the counter attack that I've been talking about. Whenever she gets hit with an ultimate, she will go and do her minor skill in the opponent's turn, which is a very nice thing. 3 times at most per round, so she can do it 3 times per round, which is appropriate. Often or after releasing 5 small skills in total, Hotaru will be immune to rage decreasing effect for 1 round, and she will enter the swallow 16 hand stance. So once she does the small skills 5 times in total, whether if it's her turn or as the counter attack, she will enter the other stance, which is the one we can see below. Okay, again, this is an offensive stance. So what it gives her is an increase in on crit by 40% and pierce by 30%. Again, an offensive stance. Another part of the passive, which is increase own damage resistance by 20% for 1 round when deployed, and increase ultimate resistance by 20% and damage resistance by 10% if Hotaru is in the front row. Okay, and gain a level of sepsis resistance each time the enemy round starts. So the sepsis resistance, we've seen this with the Maxima, I think. It's like a way to resist the sepsis effect given by Mizuchi so far. Okay, if Hotaru is in the back row or if Hotaru is the only fighter on own side, increase on ultimate damage by 30%, which makes sense. So if she's in the front, she will gain defensive boosts. If she's in the back, she will gain offensive boosts. And every time the cumulative number of small skill releasing required for the swallow 16 hands will be decreased to 3. So we've seen that she needs to do 5 minor skills in order to switch positions to the swallow 16 hands. If she was in the back row or if she was alone, it will be only 3 times to do the switch. Okay, so another part of the passive, I thought we were done. Hotaru won't die when she receives the fatal damage, of course. Her debuff and petrification status will be dispelled, and Hotaru will counter-attack the enemy once more immediately, and this one won't be counted as the number of counter-attack limitations, but will count as the number of the small skills required to switch to the other position, which is the swallow 16 hand. So what happens here, if she gets a fatal hit, if she receives enough damage to have 0 HP, she will clear her debuff and petrification and will do an immediate counter attack. Even if she used her other 3 times in this round, she can still do this counter attack, so it doesn't count with the maximum number of counter attacks that she can do. And at the same time, but it will count with the number of counter attacks needed to get to this position switch. Okay, so it will count in this respect. And this counter attack will absorb 30% of the target's max HP. Again, absorb, it means that it will take 30% from the enemy, which is nice. And 200 rage. This effect can only be activated twice in battle. She can resist death twice, meaning to say. The effect can only take effect once if there is only one enemy when Hotaru is deployed. So in tournaments it can be done only once, because again, having it more than once is kind of OP. So as you can see, at level 1, increasing small skill damage and resistance by 20%, because she does rely on her small skill a lot because of all the counter attacks, so it makes sense. Of course, it can go much higher as you level the skill up. Now, going with the lake element now, so to see what does, of course, a lot of improvements in the numbers, but I don't really stress on those, I just stress on the other effects that you will get. So for the lake element or the passive, the first time a counter attack is triggered in a round will dispel own debuffs and gain 60% control free, so additional 60% control free, which is nice. If she was in the back row, the number of the counter attacks needed to switch positions is decreased by 2 instead of 1. So remember that each time if she's in the back row, she needs less amount of counter attacks to switch positions to the offensive position. Here it will be decreased by 2 instead of 1, so she can, let's say, go to this offensive position faster. When her HP reaches 0, not only she will just absorb HP and clear debuff and counter attack and whatever, she will also get a shield which is worth 10% of her own max HP. Okay, so it's a very small shield, but at least it can sometimes save from really deadly hits coming from Kay or from Terry, for example, so it can come in handy. And the counter attack will deal additional damage which is equal 30% the target's max HP. So the counter attack that she will do, she will take, or she will deal more damage which is worth 30% of the target's max HP, and this is a lot. This is a lot, because no matter how tanky the opponent is, she will be taking this fixed amount, which is really good. Reducing the damage and resistance by 40% for 1 round to this target that she counterattacks, and it cannot be dispelled. So imagine this target having reduced 40% damage and resistance, and he can't dispel them. Okay, it's for 1 round, but he will pretty much be kind of useless for that 1 round. So it is a nice debuff eventually, and it's a really great addition to her lake element. Okay, now going to her minor skill. Attack a single enemy, increase the healing amount that all allies have by 30%. So increase the healing amount by 30%. That's one thing about her being a healer. Increase own damage by 7% for 1 round, and it can stack for 3 times, so it can reach up to 21%. Okay, increase own damage to tank fighters by 30% and decrease the target's rage by 100. Hotaru will change the action according to her stance, and she will gain extra effects. So here again, what happens with those stances? We've mentioned those 2 stances or positions, but here she will get additional boosts if she adopts those positions. So the swallow defense, switch to swallow dance, restore HP lost for the ally with lowest percentage by 20%. So she will heal the ally with the lowest HP. Swallow 16 hands, the offensive position, switch to swallowtail kick. The damage of this skill will double and decrease the rage of the target by 150. Again, more of an offensive thing. The minor skill is not bad. Of course, just to mention the thunder element here, she can, the 30% of healing rate that she gives to the allies cannot be dispelled. Okay, so that's a great addition. Additional damage, she will be dealing additional damage which is equal to 15% of the target's max HP. Again, usually when we talk about fixed percentage of target's max HP as damage, this is a lot, especially at later stages of the game. So 15% is quite nice. Regarding when she switches to the swallow defense, in addition to all what I've mentioned, she will increase the skill damage by 30%, and if she's adopting the Swallow 16 Hands, she will decrease the target's rage recovery speed by 20%. Minor additions in those parts, but it's okay, I mean, eventually. So yeah, that's pretty much her Thunder element and her minor skill. Now finally, her ultimate. Attack enemies in a column, so maximum 2 individuals. Increase own attack, defense, and control by 20%, and there's a 50% chance to silence a random enemy for 2 rounds. Decrease small skill resistance of the enemies in the target column by 20% for 1 round, and of course it ignores the immunity to debuff and it cannot be dispelled. Increase own chance of releasing the small skill by 25% for 2 rounds, and it can stack for 2 times, so she can increase skill probability by 50%, okay, after stacking. Make one of the allies without the small skill release the small skill of this round, so she can guarantee that another ally will release the small skill. In case she doesn't have the small skill, then it will go to her, so Hotaru first, the priority goes for her. Restore 10% HP to all fighters on own side. Again, here we are talking a fixed amount of HP, which is nice. So Superstar Athena, for example, she heals according to her attack or according to the damage that she makes. Whereas Hotaru, she just heals a fixed amount of HP, which is 10%. You might think it's not much, but remember that it goes 10% for each of the allies, so it's actually pretty nice. And it can go higher, as we will see with the weapon and the smacks. So to mention her weapon, what changes does the weapon give her? Skill probability can stack up to 3 times and not 2. So instead of having 50% skill probability at most, it will be 75%. So pretty much she will be releasing the small skill almost every time. Okay, in addition to that, restore 15% max HP for allies. Here we've seen it's 10%, so it becomes 15%, and 10% extra HP to the ally with lowest HP. So here also she saves the ally with the lowest HP by giving him an additional 10% extra HP as healing, which is nice. And for 1 round, each time she releases the small skill, she will deal additional 30% damage to the target. Also, as we can see, it always giving her boosts in her minor skill, because she really relies on her minor skill a lot in general. Okay, so that was her weapon, which is, of course, I would say it's a must-have, because the healing that she will be giving is much more appropriate if you want to use her as a main healer. So you should go for the weapon. And regarding the smacks now, the water element, so she will pretty much be attacking a column such that 60% splash damage will be made to the other person in the same column as the main target. So mainly she will be doing damage for one, and the other one will be receiving something as a splash damage, which is 60%. So same thing, I guess. Restore 20% HP to ally. As we can see, starting with 10%, with the weapon it's 15%, and with the smacks it's 20%. So here it's pretty good. When releasing the ultimate, if she's in the front row, the undying effect can be triggered once more. Here it's not really 100% clear. I think they are referring to the number of resistances she can get for fatal hits. We said that she can resist fatal hits up to 2 times. Okay, so here, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've read, it might mean that she can resist it 1 additional time. So she will be resisting death 3 times. Okay, that's pretty much how it was understood. Of course, this can be triggered only once per battle, so the maximum of 3 times. This is how the description actually said. I'm not 100% sure about it though. But if she was in the back row or in 1 versus 1 as in tournaments, she will dispel the target's column buffs. So the opponent's buffs, they will all be cleared. So pretty much that's what the smacks give. To be honest, if you ask me, I don't think the smacks is a game changer. Now, okay, additional healing, which is great. The damage, I think it's pretty much the same. I didn't see that much of a difference in terms of the damage that she makes. It's not like something like AoE or a lot of additional damage. It's not much of a difference. But the thing, if it's the case with the undying effect, or like if she can resist death 1 more time, then yeah, it's a really great addition. So, but this is kind of exclusive if you use her in the front row, and this is one reason why you want to use her in the front row. So pretty much, if you're using Hotaru in the front row, if you want to keep her for a long time, then yeah, you can go for the smacks, mainly for this part of her being resistant to death 1 additional time, because it is important. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can say regarding her. Okay, regarding her skills. So okay, after the skill description, I can mention her gate partners, which are Terry03, Mai, and Mary. Perfect. No API 15s, thankfully, here as gate partners, so they should be easily accessible for everybody. Okay, so now the question remains: is Hotaru a good fighter or not? I said great because yes, she is. She is kind of great. As a healer, she is good. Although I still think Superstar Athena beats her in terms of healing, because Superstar Athena, if you really work well on her damage, on her attack, she can heal like crazy. She is still, in my opinion, the best healer in the game. However, Hotaru is kind of safe because, as you can see, she gives those fixed amounts of healing, which is safe, which is pretty much good. In terms of her tankiness or resistances, she is amazing. The fact that she can resist that twice, 3 times after the smacks probably, and gaining shield, that's alone a great addition to her. That's one main reason you want to use her in the front row. I usually don't recommend putting her in the back row because you can make good use of her tankiness, okay? So that's one point. Definitely use her in the front row. I was gonna mention one more thing. The counter attacks. The counter attacks are a really good thing about her, provided that you work on her damage. I mean, put it this way, if you don't work on her damage, then what's the point? Okay, she will be counter attacking the enemy. If she doesn't do that much damage, then what's the point? Okay, she will be taking a portion of their max HP, which is nice, always a fixed value, which is great. But again, even if she's in the front row, definitely go for her damage as well, because it will come in handy, maybe not for the ultimate, but for the counter attacks. The counter attacks can be really reliable if you really work on her damage. So I would recommend something as, for example, putting DPS esoterics on her, for example. I mean, you can go for DPS tank or DPS HP, again, doesn't matter, but go for the DPS part. If not for all of them, at least mention, or at least try to work on her damage as well. Don't just focus on her defense, because you want to rely on her counterattacks. In which teams does she perform best? I can say she's very versatile. I mean, in any team that you would want. I kind of focus on female teams simply for one main reason, which some don't actually see, which is the fates. If you realize something, usually females, they kind of form like a posse together. Usually females have females as fates. So most of the times, if you, even the future ones that are gonna come here, we've seen Luong, for example, recently in the Chinese server. We've seen Orochi Shermi. And for example, for Luong, just taking her as an example, she has Mary 14 as her in her fates, Mai 14 in her fates, Orochi Shermi 2002 in her fates. So you can see they do rely on females together. So pretty much she would be really great in female teams, because you will get the bonus of unlocking all the fates as well. Other from that, of course, you can use her in any possible team because she's a healer. She can go anywhere. She can be a replacement for Superstar Athena for non-female teams, because Superstar Athena she's not outdated yet. She's still amazing, but I mean, Hotaru is a bit of an improvement for her. The reason why I would still keep Superstar Athena in the female team is because of the resistances that she can give to females, and of course the clearing, the debuff and everything. She's still kind of a core of female team, so she doesn't directly replace Superstar Athena. But in other teams, definitely you can consider Hotaru instead. So yeah, that's pretty much everything about her. Now we can go still for her runes. Which runes can be good for her? I thought about it actually, and pretty much considering that you will put her in the front row, I can come up with 2 options, which are Heart of Thorns, because it's always fun, let's say, to watch her regaining HP every time she gets attacked, and Protector, because you've seen, especially when she goes with the Swallow defense, she gains 50% block, and that's a really high value. So imagine additional block and additional crit resistance to her, and gaining rage for blocking. So Protector can be a great option as well for her, again, provided that you put her in the front row. Those are pretty much the 2 best options you can think of for Hotaru. Okay, and finally, regarding her 5th fight soul, again, I can come up with 2 options, again, provided that she's in the front row, which are the Guardian. The Guardian can be really protective for her, and the Bloodthorns. The Bloodthorns, because it works pretty much for DPSs and ganks, which are front rowers. Okay, so usually those 2 can work really well on her, especially because she is tanky enough to last for a long time in the battle. Okay, so definitely consider one of those. Otherwise, you can consider any other one that can cause debuff on the enemies, for example. Okay, so that's pretty much it regarding Hotaru. I know a lot of people got pissed off because of her sudden appearance, that we just got Demon Psyche, so they can't go for the first draw. So that's why if you really want her, I recommend you can go for her in the second limited draw. It's better not to run out completely of diamonds and or risk going for a draw by not having enough diamonds. So definitely just go for her in the second draw if you really want her. And yeah, she is pretty much worth it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts about her in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.